Ciao tutti! Just a quick note to say that if you are a paid subscriber, our monthly Q&A, our monthly Ask Me Anything About Italy, is happening on April 17th at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Now, if you can't join us live, it's not a problem. Paid subscribers can just email me their questions, and I will answer it live on the Zoom. This monthly Q&A is for people to ask any and all of their trip planning questions. And then after, I send out the replay. The way it works is that I answer the questions of those who have showed up live to the Zoom first, and then I go through the list and I answer all of the additional questions. I also put together a resource list. So, for example, if you ask me for a couple of great restaurant recommendations, I will send you those recommendations, but there'll also be the name and the address and any other details that you may need to know. This is all kept behind the paywall for paid subscribers. But beyond that, all of the content on this podcast is free. I hope you're enjoying it. And please like and share and all the things that everybody that has a podcast always asks you to do, because those things really make a huge difference. If you want to imagine what life was like in ancient Pompeii before the eruption of Mount Vesuvius, visit Naples. Specifically the historic center of Naples, and that was alive and thriving simultaneously with the ancient city of Pompeii. But it's in Rione Sanità, a much more working-class neighborhood that's immediately adjacent to the historic center of Naples, that most likely matches the energy of ancient Pompeii. There you'll find noble palaces that are adjacent to working-class apartment buildings, and a lot of what are these called bassi. They're street-level apartments with windows that open up right onto the sidewalk. And when you walk by, you'll see the kitchen table and the TV on street level. It's like almost a shop, but it's not. It's a residence. It's a very international neighborhood as well. It's got a lot of immigrants, many in particular from Sri Lanka. And that also aligns with ancient Pompeii, which was a very, very international place. Most people in Pompeii came from somewhere else, either as enslaved people or as immigrants who were seeking work. The Rione Sanità really has the best version of what I call the beautiful chaos of Naples. There are lots of motorini that are zooming by. There are 2 or 3 people riding on them. Kids are running around yelling. Most people speak the Neapolitan language versus Italian. On the street, you'll see everything for sale. Cheap jewelry, clothing, books, leather, everything, you name it. There are still artisans at work, too. Far fewer than in the past. This used to be a neighborhood of artisans. But if you walk along Via Cristallini, you'll still find a carpenter and a leather maker. Ancient Pompeii would have been filled with temples that had influence from all over the Roman Empire. For example, there were many temples dedicated to Isis and communities of Egyptians that had founded them. And in some of the old churches of Rione Sanità, these abandoned spaces really have become reclaimed and rethought. One beautiful example is the Blue Church, which has been redecorated by contemporary artists. And blue is the most symbolic color of Naples today. If you think of the soccer jerseys or the color of the sea, this Neapolitan blue is distinct, and it's like the church is dedicated to the cult of Naples itself. And then there are catacombs, the resting places for the dead, which are all within the same urban grid as the living. These catacombs, particularly the ones dedicated to San Gaudioso and San Gennaro, are some of the most ancient places in the Christian world. This is where the very first Christians worshipped in secrecy and carried out their rituals and buried their dead, and there are many frescoes that serve as testimony to this very first period of Christianity, really when it was just a small underground cult. And if this period of time interests you, then you must absolutely go to Naples in addition to Rome. Also of note, inside the Duomo of Napoli, which is very close to the Rione Sanità, there you will find the oldest baptismal font in the Christian world. But today, we're going to start our visit at Atelier Ines. It's a former theater, turned residence, turned art studio, turned hotel. And it's right next to one of these bossy-style apartments that I described. You'll see it near the entrance to the hotel, and there's a sign written in Italian that says, "This is a home. Don't take photographs." And then right next to Atelier Ines is another palazzo. And underneath that, is a 2,300-year-old Greek mausoleum. Greek. So that means it predates the Romans. It predates Pompeii, because Naples, which is Napoli, was the Neopoli, the new city that Greeks colonized on the Italian peninsula. And my visit to what is called the Ipogeo, this mausoleum that is 2,300 years old, was really moving to me. It was Father's Day in Italy, March 19th, when I was there, and I had this very personal experience that I'm going to share with you, but I've decided to break up this episode into two parts. The first will be a conversation with the owner of Atelier Ines, and I'll take you inside of this beautiful art hotel, which is filled with creativity and beauty and wonderful people. It's definitely a place that should be on your list if you're going to visit Naples. And then directly underneath their wine cellar is the Ipogeo. And in the second part of the episode, I will take you inside of the mausoleum, and I'll explain to you why it moved me so much. It's related to the death of my father, which is one of the most difficult things that I've experienced ever, but certainly in the past few years where there have been many difficult things. And this also is a place that you should put on your list, because this 2,300-year-old mausoleum has only been open to the public since 2022. And the entire experience there really brings to mind that very famous William Faulkner quote, which says, "The past is never dead. It's not even past." There's a duality in the city of Naples, one of sublime beauty and then the looming destruction of the volcano. It's irresistible, this volcano, because it's so fertile and so beautiful. But Naples actually has two looming volcanoes. There's Mount Vesuvius, which looks like a volcano and is a symbol of the city itself. And then to the west, there's the Campi Flegrei, which is a large, diffused, partially underwater volcano, and this is one of the world's most dangerous volcanoes, and it has been rumbling a lot lately. It's producing the phenomenon called bradyseism, which is a slow-motion earthquake, the slow rising and falling of the earth. And when I was there a few weeks ago, I was actually worried about earthquakes because there had been several severe tremors days before that had sent people out into the streets. But fortunately, nothing happened. And I went to Naples knowing this was a possibility, but I also knew that, God forbid something happened to me. I was in the place on earth that makes me the most happy. And this is the strange, beautiful duality of Naples. I'll explain more. You're outside, the Rione Sanità is crazy, and then you come inside and it's quiet, and then you feel like you're in a Sorrentino film. It's one of the best things about traveling, especially in Italy, is sometimes you really feel like you're in a movie.
Yeah.
And this feels like a movie.
Yeah, right.
So could you tell me?
Okay. So you were talking about the vibes.
Yes.
And the chaos of the street. You're right. But you know what I say? That you never get bored in Napoli.
Never.
And if you feel depressed, just come here and you will feel these waves of energy, of people talking loud, of scooters, but also there is a lot to discover in the district. In a small district, we start from I Vergini and then Rione Sanità, so we are in the first part of Rione Sanità. There are more than 150 places to see, between church, catacombs, noble palaces, and also in terms of gastronomy, pizza, winemakers, also artisans, artists, so there is really a lot to see in here. So Atelier Ines, let's talk about Atelier Ines. So imagine between 1900 and 1920, this whole area, no building wasn't here yet, used to be an open theater and cinema. And then we gathered all this information from the old neighbors that were here, around the area, because nothing was written, like we didn't find any document in the archive. So we have all these witnesses gathered from our neighbors. And then the old grandfather of my husband, who was an immigrant, he lived in Brooklyn, he decided to come back. He bought the land from Richard Ginori, and then he built this building. So it used to be the family residence upstairs, and downstairs he used to sell wood. And on the way back from Brooklyn, from New York, he brought 4 big doors. And he did the whole building around those 4 doors, which, you know, it's pitch pine, it's American wood. And so...
he brought them from the United States.
Yeah, he brought them from the United States, and he had them, and then he did the whole building around the 4 doors, which is amazing.
It's
Later,
amazing.
I will show it to you.
Just the difficulty to bring 4 doors.
He brings the 4 doors, and then since the 80s, it became the art studio of my father-in-law, Annibale Oste. He passed away a few years ago, but here we celebrate his work. Our place is the concept of hospitality itself started in 2017, and you know, it's a museum, it's a gallery where you can go and sleep, and the art studio is still active with Vincenzo, my husband, so people can see what we do. It's not only like, you know, you can see the finished piece inside the room. You can see also the process of creativity. We had some clients, you know, when we were here, maybe I was talking to Vincenzo and he was drawing something and they were curious and they came, guys, what you are doing? So sometimes they can witness the birth of an idea, and then, you know, after a few months, we send them like, this is it. It's done, it's finished. So we have also this amazing relationship with some of our scholars, which makes a difference because they choose to come to this district. You know, the district didn't have a good fame. Like, you know, if you talk about the 80s, about the 90s, people, they were afraid to come here, they avoided to come here. Nowadays, they choose to come here because there is a reality, maybe like Ines. There are other artists like Christian Liperino, the catacombs that opened only 2 years ago. People, they use it also to come here for the gloves, because in the district we have gloves makers for 5 generations, for the bags, for the leather, for the glass. So, you know, it's we really have travelers. They choose because we are not on the path like toward Centro Storico. We are outside the old walls of Centro Storico. We are not far away also from the Archaeological Museum, the National Museum, the Madre Museum, Il Duomo.
It's, if you come to this area too, I mean, it is still very much a working class neighborhood. I compare it to like what the East Village was in the 80s or the 90s in New York, where there was a lot of artists that were living among very working class people, and so you still have that energy.
Absolutely, absolutely, I agree with you. And you know, sometimes I say that a bourgeois district, you can find it everywhere in the world. Wherever you travel, you can find it.
Yes.
Being in Rione district like this mix of persons, working class, you can find the pianist, the architect, the artist, all of them live with the respect of each one's space, but it's unique reality. As I said, like, you know, you, as soon as you step out, you can feel it. You can feel these layers also of different, I don't know how to say that, social...
The different social classes.
Social classes. You can see it. It's like evident. Nobody is hiding it. You can see it. But it's amazing. This is what makes also the district unique. That you can, you know, you can talk to the Napolitan lady or the fish seller. He will give you the receipt about it and will talk to you. And then walking, you can hear a pianist working. Where we live here, we have also a pianist in here, and he's an engineer. And then we have a housekeeper that lives here. So it's a mix of things, but there is this line of respect that also make it living together not easier, but you know, with the respect of the boundaries. And also there is one thing very important in a district like Napoli, popular district. There is still also the sense of community. The fact that my neighbor, I know her, or maybe I just say, hi, how are you, good morning. She has the duty toward me, and I have the duty toward her to help her if she needs. We don't have to be friends. Right. We are only neighbors, but we can count on each other. We can rely, not count, we can rely. We can rely on
Count
each
on
other.
each other works too, yeah.
Yeah.
That works too.
Which is, an aspect, it's important because, I sometimes say, like, in life you can do a lot of investment either on yourself or on the job, the career, or you buy a house. But this district it's an investment on humanity, because it's still this sense of community exists. And even during COVID, there were much more solidarity in the popular district than in the bourgeois districts.
Right.
Yeah.
No, it's interesting, and it's true, because if you live in a wealthy neighborhood, it'll be safer maybe, but you won't have that sense. When you know everybody, there's a different kind of safety. I think when you first look at the street and you see the motorini everywhere, and you see, just chaos sometimes. Yeah. But then you realize, especially when you walk through traffic in Naples, the first time you arrive to Naples and you try to cross the street, it's terrifying.
I know.
And then you realize, what I always tell people is, like, find somebody who's either pushing a baby carriage or somebody who's elderly. Find an old person and just walk when they walk. Yeah. And then very quickly you realize that there's actually a rhythm, and you realize that people are watching each other. They're in communication with each other much more than than you realize. And I always say this in New York: if you cross when you don't have the light, a car sees you, they'll just hit you because you broke the rule.
Yeah, you broke the rule, and they hit you. It's like they're giving you a lesson,
Exactly. They're saying, well, it was my right to go, and you were in the wrong space. No. But in Napoli, that'll never happen.
No, it will never happen. And people, you look, it's a different kind of connection. Yeah. Like if you are crossing the street, it's better to walk on the eyes of the driver, and he knows, that you are crossing, and he will wait for you to cross.
There's definitely a Napoli Wi-Fi that all the people are connected to, and as a tourist, once you connect to it, then you fall in love with Napoli. If you never connect to it, then you'll walk away and say, that place was crazy.
It's not for you. It's crazy.
I'm going back to Florence. I don't like that place. You got to connect to the human Wi-Fi.
And sometimes some of our travelers, they come back and, Ines, we were walking here and people, they were staring at us. I say, yes, they were staring at us because they are curious. They want to know where did you come from. Like, they are not going to rob you, do something bad to you. They're just curious, and they want to connect. Because if they hear, like, you are an American, he's American, and they know, because, Americans are loved in Napoli, because we had a lot of Napolitans immigrated to the USA. So when they say American, okay, he's an American, they try to help, and they're also proud to see people coming to the district, and they try to help them.
Now, were you raised in Napoli?
No, I came to Napoli 15 years ago, maybe a little bit more, maybe 15 and a half, if we want to count the months. 15 years ago, I came as a traveler.
Wow.
I was not supposed to stay here, but then, I fell in love with the Neapolitans first, and with Napoli, and it is amazing.
Now, you may have guessed it already just from listening to her voice, but Ines is absolutely gorgeous, and she's also completely down to earth and just a lovely person. Originally, she's from Tunisia, but she's also lived in the south of France and in Peru, so she speaks Arabic, French, Spanish, Italian, English, of course, and then she says she's also studied Chinese, but, she said if you don't keep up with Chinese, it's easy to forget. Yeah, I guess I might forget it too with all of those other languages. Her husband is Vincenzo Oste, and he's the son of the Neapolitan artist Annibale Oste. And they also have 2 children, one of whom is named after his grandfather. They live very close by, and they are very much a part of this community in every way possible.
I say we, because Napoli is unique also from this point of view, that you feel adopted by the city, that you are not the stranger anymore.
Mm-hmm. Also, as an Italian American, if you go to Florence, nobody's going to ever say you're Italian. They'll say you're American.
You're American.
But when you come to Napoli and you have an Italian last name, you're in.
Si.
They're like, already. Welcome back. Yeah. Welcome home. Right. Let's pick up where you left off.
Right.
You are welcomed back in. Yeah. So I want to talk more about the interesting places that you know of to visit here in Napoli, because mass tourism has come to Naples, and the Centro Storico in particular is really busy and full. And even still, I think there are some very busy sites that you still must see, like the Veiled Christ,
Yes.
Cristo Velato.
Absolutely.
Buy the ticket, wait on the line, it's worth it.
Absolutely. Si.
But I would love to hear more about the other places to discover that aren't as obvious.
Yeah, like if we want to talk about what we have nearby, we have the Apogeo of Cristallini, this amazing Greek catacombs. Then we have the Blue Church, which is not far away. It's worthy. If you have time, you can go and see. And then we have the cemetery Le Fontanelle, which gonna open soon after 3 years of close. Then we have the catacombs of San Gaudioso, and from here walking till Museum Capodimonte, it's only 15 minutes walk. No.
Keep going.
Okay, so Atelier Ines, as I told you, the building itself was built in 1947 by the old grandfather of my husband, and it used to be the family residence upstairs and the selling point. And since the 80s, it became the art studio for Annibale Oste. So we started in 2017 with the concept of hospitality with only 3 rooms, and we were open only for artists.
Soon after, Ines and Vincenzo had the opportunity to buy the apartments on the upper floors as well. So now, altogether, there are 9 rooms, and each one of them is completely unique and filled with a mix of artwork from both Vincenzo and his father. The artwork is on the walls as well as functional. It includes the cabinets, the armadios, end tables, sometimes the headboards. Everything is unique and massive and amazing, and every nook and cranny, both upstairs and downstairs, has something new to explore and discover. And that's really, I think, what makes this place so very special and unique.
The Napolitans, this relationship between sopra e sotto, no? So I found it's amazing, you should go underneath and then come up.
Yes, I always say this, especially to people who are fans of the books of Elena Ferrante, of L'Amica Geniale, My Brilliant Friend, because there's such a strong theme. Have you read the books?
Si.
Yeah, the whole narrative begins when one of the girls throws one of their dolls down below ground, and they have to make this voyage below ground together that sort of seals their friendship for a lifetime. And that's such a Neapolitan theme.
Absolutely.
And sure, you could take that story and put it in another city, but if you know Naples, you know just how powerful that metaphor is, and how rich it is for that entire story. Also, in this neighborhood, in La Sanità, you have all of Western civilization, really, because you have the Greek Ipogeo, and then you go to the beginnings of Christianity at the catacombs. So, and the Roman era in between. So really, you can chart all of Western history in one neighborhood.
The Greek, the Roman, and then all these contaminations from all the passage from the Arabic, the Spanish, the French, And this what makes, I think, I always said, the Neapolitan population, they had a lot of dominations, which makes them open toward the others, and they accept the others for who they are. They don't judge.
And also because so many Neapolitans have had to go abroad, like Vincenzo's grandfather, right? He had to go somewhere else and be a stranger, be a foreigner, knows what that feels like. And I think that's why Neapolitans are also so nice to tourists.
They're open.
People in Florence, I'm going to pick on Firenze one more time, even though I love it, but they haven't needed to leave. You can go to college in Firenze, you can stay there a lifetime, and they're not as warm to visitors because they don't have that experience of having been a stranger.
You're right.
Can you show me the 4 doors? We'll leave these on and maybe we can just walk around a little bit.
I want also to show you the La Cantina, which is Cantina Apogea, because underneath, more 5 meters, you find the Greek catacombs.
I can't wait to go see that.
To put a code?
We step back inside the front door of the hotel, and just underneath the steps is a door that leads downstairs to the wine cantina. It's stocked beautifully, of course, and it has a lot more artwork, but it's also right above the Greek Ipogeo.
Andiamo a vedere la cantina. Allora, cantina quest'anno. Allora, mettiamo un po' di musica, ragazzi. La cantina, allora, qui sarà la dispensa di Ines, the pantry of Ines here with some of the products that I like, with the Neapolitan cestino. You can choose whatever you want, and then you go downstairs and you can choose your wine.
I have the basket.
Yeah, baskets. The wine cellar, la cantina. Later, when you will go to visit the catacombs, you will notice that there was a place before the catacombs themselves where the family used it to gather, and they used it to bring these small vases made in terracotta. So we took the inspiration of these wine containers from them, different shapes. We put them in here and we put the wine, and here it's called apogee because we celebrate life, but we don't forget about
The death.
the death underneath. So
And we're right above the apogeo. The apogeo is right below us.
Si.
Wow, that's amazing.
Si.
That's so cool. It's interesting to watch Ines moving through the hotel and to watch her interact with the staff. They're all busy preparing the rooms for a new crop of travelers that are checking in, and she's really paying attention to every detail. It's clear that there's a lot of mutual respect between Ines and the staff. One man walks in with a bouquet of flowers, and she quickly inspects it and pulls out one flower that looks like it's waning. But it's when we step back outside into the courtyard to go look at the upper rooms that I really get a sense of just how much Ines loves this place and how much she appreciates being here in Rione Sanità every day, not just as the owner of the hotel or a producer of experiences, but as someone who just genuinely loves it.
Teatro, quindi they use it to put the curtains here, and you need to buy your tickets, and then you
So
can
it does. That's why you do feel like you're entering a Sorrentino film, because you
I
are
do.
entering a theater.
Yes, absolutely. And you know what? The theater still exists, because if you step out inside from the balcony or the window, you can smell the coffee. The neighbor will be there, maybe smoking a cigarette, saying, "Hi, how are you? Good morning." So it's Napoli is Napoli is io credo. Guarda Daniela, credimi, questo te lo dico.
Standing on the balcony, Ines starts pointing out the other apartments across the way, and she becomes so entranced that she's speaking in Italian, and I didn't want to interrupt her to ask to switch to English, so I'll just translate it for you. She describes the engineer who lives across the way, who also plays piano, the most beautiful music that you can hear coming from his apartment. She talks about the woman who only speaks Neapolitan and how she has this innate elegance that can't be replicated, always with perfect blonde hair and an excellent manicure. And every once in a while she fries these beautiful little arancini, those are rice balls, that she shares with everyone around her. She talks again about the smell of the cigarettes and the coffee, and describes it as a little hive of life-affirming humanity.
Let's go here and see Vincenzo. I think he's here. Vincenzo, guarda chi c'è. Guarda chi c'è.
Buongiorno.
La ricordi? Daniele.
Come no, ci siamo visti 3-4 volte. Tutto bene?
Sì, benissimo. Sto bene. Vincenzo's art studio is right inside the hotel. In fact, it's right next to the breakfast room. So as you're passing by in the morning and you still may be just wearing your slippers, you can peek into this amazing studio, which is full of history and lots of beautiful details, and see Vincenzo hard at work. He may be working on a special commission. He might be working on something new for the hotel. It happens often that guests that stay at the hotel fall in love with a piece of artwork and then ask him to go create a piece of that, and he'll ship it to you. You are part of a living art studio in this hotel. So it's not about hospitality alone. It's also about being part of this creative community.
I had some clients, that maybe they had a late flight and they never slept in Napoli, but maybe they go every year the same period to Capri. And I remember that time the flight was late, they couldn't reach Capri. So he had a look on Google. He found us. He booked, and I remember seeing them the day after. They were like, wow. And he told me, we are so happy that we started from Atelier Ines, from here, because even since I'm not Napolitan, like I sometimes I say I'm much more in love with Naples than the Neapolitan themselves, because I discovered as a traveler, and there are different things, many things that Neapolitans may not know or feel.
At the end of our visit, Ines walked me over to the entrance of the Ipogeo. It's only open in the mornings, and they only allow 10 people at a time to enter. She introduced me to the woman who would be bringing the small group downstairs, and before we started our visit, she invited me to watch a small video which created a reconstruction of what the Ipogeo, the Greek mausoleum, would have looked like originally, in order to give some context for the visit. And it's when I saw that the mausoleum looked exactly like the one that my family has in Woodlawn Cemetery in New York City that I was really struck. When my father passed away, he was the last one taking care of the Oteri family mausoleum. The Oteris began their lives in Sarno, Italy, which is near Pompeii, and ended in the Bronx. And when my father died, my brother handed me the key to the mausoleum, and he said, "You're the historian. You can take care of the dead people." And when I saw that structure from 2,300 years ago that looked exactly like the one that I'm in charge of tending now, 2,300 years collapsed. And so did I, almost. The woman running the tour looked at me, and God bless Italians, they are not afraid of emotions. They understand the intimacy of moments like this. They don't start saying, "Are you okay? Do you need water?" And that's when the second part of this adventure began. Thank you so much for listening. I will share the second part of this episode next week. I'll talk to you soon.